The biker ripped open the shirt of a simple black woman, but the Marine Corps tattoo left the entire bar frozen. The crash of a beer glass shattered across the wooden floor, its sharp pitch like a sudden brake screech, slicing off every lazy word in Murphy's Roadhouse. The whole place stiffened. "You think you're special, huh, Vince Viper?" Jackson's voice cut through the air like a blade. His massive hand gripped the white collar of the petite waitress standing in the aisle. Elena Morales, dark brown skin, neat and worn sneakers, hair tied tight at the nape, kept her eyes low, as if counting the shards scattered across the floor. The stench of liquor and hostility blew hot against her face. "This bar pays for protection, or this bar goes up in flames. Pick one, sweetheart." The snake tattoo coiled around Viper's neck seemed to twitch with his breath. The Desert Vipers had stormed in at 8 p.m., the roar of their Harleys pounding outside like hammers. Patrons tensed. Construction workers in canvas shirts, long-haul truckers, an older married couple, 3 men in baseball caps with unit pins. At the corner table, Sheriff Tom Bradley, weathered face, 55, set his coffee down, his dry hand resting near the pocket where his phone lay still. Behind the bar, Jake Miller, 25, wiped glasses nonstop. Spotting the skull logo on the bikers' vests, Jake muttered, "They're the ones who torched Rossetti's in Oceanside." Helena only nodded, folding napkins into flawless triangles, each edge straight as if drawn, not a fraction off. Viper strode in like a conqueror. His shaved head gleamed under dim yellow light, his grin too sweet to be real. "Tonight, we'll have a few drinks, then a little talk." The word talk dripped with meaning, understood without saying. His crew spread out, one leaning on the jukebox, 2 by the pool table, 1 guarding the back door, 3 along the bar. Every path covered, sightline secured, territory claimed. Helena's eyes flicked across the room, cataloging like a reflex. Formation, response gaps, blind spots. She stepped forward, tray steady as if balanced on a level. "What can I get you, gentlemen?" One meth-rotted grin slapped her hip as she passed, sneering. Smile the right way. The right way hit hard, as if air was only clean without a black woman in it. Elena shifted half a step back, deliberate but seeming accidental, and stayed silent. Behind the bar, Jake half rose, but Elena raised her eyes, a near-invisible shake. "Don't. Beers served, money collected, straws placed just right." Elena never turned her back to the door longer than a count of 3. "Where's Murphy?" Viper jerked his chin. "We've got business." "He's in Phoenix this week," Elena replied flat as an invoice. "I'm just covering the shift." "Then tell him, $5,000 a month buys peace. Otherwise, faulty wiring, gas leaks, things flare up nasty." He snapped his lighter, flame flickering in his eyes. Elena wiped an already clean table, her anchor to steady her pulse. "I'll pass it on. Smart girl. Around here, better keep things proper." He dragged out proper, a jab sharp with bias. Across the bar, another sneered, "That your real hair?" 2 customers turned away. Silent judgment stung sharper than words. Tension coiled 20 minutes tight before the glass hit the floor like an exclamation point. The Vipers closed their circle like a noose. Sheriff Tom shifted his chair, angle wide, thumb brushing his phone. Jake lined bottles by color just to stop his hands from shaking. Viper's voice turned syrupy. "We're generous, you know. You sway the boss, we'll make sure you get a cut. What's minimum wage here, plus tips? Someone like you, hard-working, I respect that. Someone like you landed like lead." Elena raised her eyes, clear brown, steady. "Thank you, I'm fine where I am." "Stubborn." Viper squeezed her arm hard enough to bruise by morning. "Take your hand off her," Sheriff ordered, his tone pure command, no badge required. Viper smirked. "You're off duty, no authority. 10 against 1. Sit down before you get hurt." He didn't release her. Chairs scraped. The 3 men in caps rose slow, unit pins flashing, one rolling up a sleeve to reveal an eagle inked bold. "Tom, it's okay," Elena said softly. "They're leaving soon." She didn't look at Viper, just measured his breath, counted the space, weighed the angle of a strike. Viper leaned close, his breath thick as smoke. "What's your problem? Think you're better than us? Or you forgot the rules for your kind?" Your kind. Rules. Thin knives of coded hate sliding across the floor. His other hand clutched her collar. Jake gripped a bat behind the counter. Sheriff inched, then froze. Elena's foot had already pivoted, weight sunk, arms loose, stance trained for close combat. "Call Murphy now," Viper barked, "or this night gets ugly." "Can't," Elena answered, voice taut as reins. The sound tore the room in half. Rip. Fabric shredded from collar to chest. Her shirt burst open. Elena stiffened a beat, black tank top clinging to her shoulders, exposing a canvas of dark ink across her back. The bar went silent. The jukebox swallowed its own tune. Every eye dragged toward the image emerging through torn cloth. An eagle, globe and anchor, etched in black, ringed by scars that couldn't be faked. Elena didn't move, but the air shifted like before a storm. Her shoulders squared, chin lifted, gaze unshackled. No stance, no strike, just presence. Inside her, an old switch flipped. Civilian to warrior. Viper froze, fist still clutching torn fabric. He stared at the tattoo like a drunk waking cold, trying to piece symbols. USMC insignia, the words First Force Recon, scars scattered like a war map. His mistake stood branded in ink. From the corner, Sheriff Tom exhaled almost a chuckle. Force Recon. He left it at that. Elena turned just enough to show them all. Then she spoke, voice transformed. "Mr. Jackson, you just destroyed my property. You owe me an apology." The silence thundered louder than any shout, and everyone knew. From this moment on, Desert Vipers didn't set the rules anymore. Through the torn fabric, the eagle, globe and anchor spread across Elena Morales' shoulder like a declaration without words. Beneath it, the bold ink of First Force Recon stood out like an official stamp. Along her flank were jagged scars from shrapnel. Near her left shoulder blade, a round mark, an exit wound. Lower still, a long, crooked line disappearing beneath her waistband, telling of a blade that once cut across. For those who knew how to read them, these marks were a battlefield record. Elena did not move her feet. She didn't raise a fist, didn't posture. Yet a power with no name filled the room, the power of one who had walked into places everyone feared, and returned. "Mr. Jackson," she said, her voice the same, soft in tone, steel in spine. "I believe you owe me an apology for tearing my shirt." Viper faltered, mouth opening, then closing. You're... Elena turned fully, letting everyone confirm with their own eyes. A few phones came up, some hands pulled back, sensing this was no moment for spectacle. She fixed Viper with her gaze. Stephen Jackson, dishonorably discharged 6 years ago for trafficking military equipment, founded Desert Vipers 3 years ago, currently named in 4 arson investigations and 2 aggravated assault cases. She paused a beat. I make it a habit to know exactly who's threatening my battle space. A tall man with silver hair rose from a shadowed corner, upright, his ice blue eyes freezing time. He didn't need to introduce himself, but he did anyway. Colonel Mike Harrison, retired. His eyes went to the tattoo, then to Elena's. Gunnery Sergeant Morales, Fallujah, 2004, I remember you. Elena's body shifted barely, the reflex of command etched in her marrow, shoulders squared, eyes set, chin dipped half an inch. Reporting, sir. 2 names seared through her heart. Williams, Chen. Flames extinguished, yet forever burning warm inside her chest. Behind the bar, Jake gaped, clutching the rag like an anchor to reality. At the next table, Maria Santos, the florist from down the street, set her glass down gently. Her voice broke like a memory uncorked. Navy corpsman, Camp Leatherneck. I was in pre-op when they wheeled you in. 60% burns, 3 bullet wounds, shrapnel enough to set off every scanner. She raised her eyes. That's who you laid hands on, Jackson. The back door rattled. 2 Vipers edging away, but blocking them stood 3 men. A brown-skinned man with a 3-chevron sergeant tattoo on his forearm, a tall black man with a pale vitiligo patch across his cheek, and a gaunt redhead with the look of winter soldiering. They didn't lunge, they simply existed. And that presence alone narrowed the exits into alleys with no honorable escape. Viper strained for face, his voice hoarse. We didn't know she was... Elena cut him off, quiet. Was what? A Marine, a woman, black, or all 3, the reasons you thought I couldn't stand here and hold you accountable? Someone let out a low, oh, not amusement, but because she had said aloud what lay unspoken. Sheriff Tom Bradley stepped forward, his hand visible on his phone. His tone was calm, but carried law. Miss Morales, do you want me to file assault charges and log the hate element? Too many witnesses here to ignore. Elena swept her eyes across the room. A small America. Many shades, generations, stories. Not yet, she said. If Mr. Jackson and his crew leave this place, never return, and end their racket with the bars around here. Right now. Viper glanced at the blocked exits, at the tattoo on her back, at the lenses quietly aimed. He sniffed. We will leave. Elena held a beat, weighing the weight of choice. Her hand brushed her lower back, where she still carried a combat medic kit out of habit, tourniquet, clotting agent, decompression needle. Tools she prayed never to use in civilian life. Then she lifted her head. On your knees. The order wasn't loud, but it carried a pitch only those who had commanded through explosions could summon, and it locked his muscles. Viper froze a beat, then dropped. Leather rasped against floor. A few held their breath. His men looked at him like watching a statue crack. Now speak, Elena said, eyes never leaving him. Apologize for touching me, tearing my shirt, threatening these people, and for your racial slurs. Clear. Viper's throat rasped dry. I apologize, I was wrong. We won't be back. Louder, Elena ordered. His voice rose. I apologize for assaulting you, tearing your shirt, threatening everyone here, and for my racist words. We will never return. No one clapped. Silence itself was a sentence. Sheriff Tom scribbled notes, gaze sweeping the room like stamping, witness statement secured. At the door, the sergeant-tattooed man murmured just loud enough, "Back out. Don't turn your back on the lady." Not a threat, a rule. Viper rose slowly, head bowed a fraction. He began to back away. His crew followed, stripped of swagger. The door opened. Harley's outside, less arrogant now. Through the glass, taillights receded like a swarm of tired insects. Elena stooped, lifted the torn shirt, folding it crisp as once she folded battle maps. She didn't watch them go. Her mission was here, steady the room, ease the pulse of those who'd witnessed violence, bring the air back to breathing. Colonel Harrison approached, keeping a respectful space. He inclined his head. "You did right, Gunny." Elena answered gently, rankless. "Here, call me Elena." He smiled. "Then, Elena, you just gave this room a lesson. Peace isn't something we find in running. It's something we build." Behind the bar, Jake still clutched the bat. I had no idea," he stammered. 6 months working beside you, and That was the point," Elena said, her voice softer again. "I wanted to be just Elena, the one who pours coffee steady and wipes tables straight." She glanced around. "But tonight, it seems people needed something else." And they would have it. Civilized, without vengeance. A chalkboard reading "Zero Tolerance for Hate" would go up. A shelf of books on black women in the military would appear. A safe intervention protocol would hang by the jukebox. But those were matters for later. For now, the black woman stood calm at the center of the room, sentinel steady, and spoke loudly enough for all to hear. "Everyone okay? Everyone okay?" Elena's voice carried out, and the echo of that question seemed to pull the whole room back into reality. Inhale. Exhale. Shoulders dropped, fists unclenched. A few chairs scraped softly back into place. The sound of wood against floor, as soothing as a bandage pressed over a cut. Sheriff Tom Bradley gave a short nod. He stepped to the center of the room, speaking loud enough for all to hear. "I'll file a report. Anyone who heard the racial remarks earlier, please write a short statement. Name, phone number. If that crew comes back or stirs up trouble elsewhere, we'll have a record." He didn't shout, didn't perform. He simply did the work of the law, a pulley lifting what's right out of slippery ground. Elena set her tray on the counter, picked up the torn shirt, folding each crease straight. She looked at Jake. "Water for table 4, extra cold towels. Anyone still shaking, make the drink sweet." The instructions were short, precise, like in a formation. Stabilize first, talk later. A burly white man in a wrinkled t-shirt approached the bar, face flushed with shame. The other night I asked where you were really from. I'm sorry." Elena nodded, her eyes softening. "Thank you for saying it straight. Next time, just ask, where were you born? The word really isn't needed." He gave a sheepish smile. "Right, I've learned." Maria Santos slipped through the crowd and placed a small bouquet on the counter, wild roadside flowers, carrying a green, fresh scent. "Tomorrow I'll bring more. This place needs a corner of remembrance for veterans. Every color." "Thank you," Elena said. "We'll make a wall of keepsakes, photos, name tags, unit patches. Anyone who wants to share, we'll hang them." From the corner, Colonel Mike Harrison scanned the room and spoke like an order that was still a suggestion. "If you see it, do it. Don't wait for someone else to assign it." 3 men. 1 brown-skinned with a sergeant's chevrons inked on his arm. 1 tall black man with a vitiligo mark on his cheek. 1 gaunt redhead with the look of winter campaigns. Nodded and went to fetch hammers, nails, wooden boards. An ad hoc squad. No uniforms, but unmistakable bearing. Jake Miller carried out a long chalkboard, its surface still dusted pale. "What do we write on it, Elena?" She looked around the room, weighing the words like weighing a round before loading. "Zero tolerance for hate." Then beneath it, "Respect in word and deed." Sweat glazed Jake's hand, but his lettering came out steady, clean. When he set down the chalk, the bar fell into a hush. A drumbeat paused before inspection. Sheriff Tom cleared his throat. I propose we print and post here a guide on safe intervention, bystander intervention. The 5 Ds: distract, delegate, document, delay, direct. My office has a template. Thursday, if Elena agrees, we'll run a workshop right here. Agreed, Elena said. A bar can be a safe zone if people know what to do when they hear or see hate. The door swung open, bringing in sea wind and highway noise. Lance Corporal Sarah Webb, thin shoulders under a black tee, hollow eyes, stood at the threshold, hesitating at this lit-up world. Elena raised a hand, beckoning. Sarah sat, hands cupped around a glass of water. "Ma'am," Sarah murmured, "I just came back. Someone joked I don't look like a Marine. I'm afraid I'll lose my temper." Elena set a packet of brown sugar near Sarah's hand, a kind of lifeline. Anger is a warning light, not a steering wheel. When you hear that, you have 5 choices. Distract, "Hey, table over there, needs something." Delegate, "Jake, can you handle this one?" Document, record if needed. Delay, check on the target afterward. Direct, "That's not okay, we don't say that here." Pick whichever keeps your body and mind safe. Sarah nodded, eyes glassing. "And when someone touches my hair without asking?" "Boundaries," Elena answered firmly. "Please don't touch, thank you." If it continues, delegate, here, she gestured across the bar. You have plenty of allies. A bearded mechanic, Eddie, raised a hand. "I once laughed along when someone joked about hair. I was wrong." "Thank you for owning it," Elena said. "We learn from each other every day." The night's second jolt of tension came sudden. A pickup braked hard outside, headlights sweeping the glass. Shoulders stiffened. Jake gripped his bat. Sheriff Tom was already at the door, not drawing anything, just standing. Elena signaled with a flick of her wrist. "Hold position." 2 figures stepped down, leather jackets but not Desert Vipers. Across their backs, POW/MIA patches. They opened the door, removed their caps, walked slow, taking no space, casting no sneers. "We heard there was trouble last night," one said. "We came for a quiet drink and to hang an old patch on the wall, if that's allowed." Elena nodded. "Allowed, if you respect that board." She pointed to the words "Zero Tolerance for Hate." The 2 men looked, then nodded, as if saluting a flag. The air eased, like a mine had been disarmed. Colonel Harrison brought out a plank of pine. Maria offered a frame. Jake fetched nails. The first relics went up. A sergeant smiling by a dust-red helicopter. A private hugging his daughter before deployment. A black woman in utilities, her smile thin but bright. As the third nail was driven, Sheriff Tom turned to Elena. "If you want charges tonight, I'll back you. If you choose not to, I'll back you too. But I'll patrol around here for a while." Elena thought, gazing out at the road. "I choose not tonight, on one condition. You notify the local press to alert nearby businesses, help them set up safety protocols. I don't want to win one skirmish, I want lasting security." The sheriff's smile was wry. "Strategist." Elena shrugged. "Force recon." Night thinned out. Before dimming the lights, Elena took the chalk again and wrote beneath the board, "Warriors don't need recognition. They serve." The English line stood beside the Vietnamese above like 2 privates guarding a gate. She blew the chalk dust away, scanning the room once more. Each person here, a storyline. Tonight, together, they had signed an unspoken pact: respect, courage, solidarity. As she slid the bolt on the door, Jake asked quietly, "Were you scared?" "Yes," Elena answered honestly. "Fear doesn't make us small. It steadies our hands when we know what we fear, and what we stand for. Outside, the sea wind tore through low shrubs. Inside, the chalkboard glowed under nightlight like a fresh vow. Saturday morning, the parking lot at Murphy's Roadhouse was unusually full. Rumors had spread like salt-meeting dew, sprinkled through every barber shop, gas station, and hardware store. People came to see the USMC tattoo, but stayed for something else. The feeling of safety without words. Sam Murphy returned from Phoenix and froze at the sight. A chalkboard that read "Zero Tolerance for Hate," a wall of photos, a brand new bookshelf labeled "Women of Color in the Military, PTSD and Healing, Bystander 5. D. Elena stepped out from the kitchen with a coffee pot. "Welcome back, boss." Sam scratched his head. "Elena, if you want to take a few days off, or even quit." Elena cut him off with a small smile. "I've still got the lunch shift. Besides, you'd better order more mugs. Business is about to grow." Sam laughed, relieved. "You're the manager I forgot to pay the title for." Around 10 a.m., a local reporter pulled up. Pressed shirt, notebook peeking from his pocket. "We'd like to write about the black female Marine who made bikers kneel." Elena lifted her eyes steady. "Write about Murphy's as a safe space for veterans of every color. Write about Thursday's 5D workshop, about the memory wall, about how the community stood up to hate without throwing a punch. As for my name, keep it small." The reporter paused, headline ready in his mind. But Elena's calm gaze shifted his angle. "All right, that story is better." Lance Corporal Sarah Webb came back, wearing a T-shirt reading "Black Women Serve." They sat by the window where the light slanted warm. "I tried," Sarah said quietly. "When someone asked if my hair was real, I said, 'Don't touch, thank you.'" They stopped a second, then apologized. Elena smiled. That was a clean, direct response. "But," Sarah hesitated, "I still feel small in a crowded room." "You don't need to be big," Elena said. "You need to be steady. Steady is knowing what you stand for." By noon, two strangers in checkered shirts and loosened ties sat down, ordered beers, and let slip. "So, who's the new boss here? Looks professional, like military, but a black woman?" That but slipped in like a thorn. The air dipped. Elena stepped forward, set down the beers, smiled politely. "Here, we say thank you when someone notices good service. As for but, leave it for conjunctions on paper. Want fries with that?" The men flushed red, stammering apologies. Across the room, Eddie the mechanic brushed a finger over the 5D board, as if to remind himself of the lesson. No tension needed, just correction. At that moment, Jake carried out a carton addressed to Elena. "No sender." She slit the tape. Inside was a velvet box, purple and gleaming when the light hit, a purple heart, a folded note in handwriting. "Gies de Morales. You left this at Leatherneck. Thought you should take it back. H.M. to Santos." Maria covered her mouth, eyes shining. "I don't remember." Elena shook her head gently. "You did, in some way." She lifted the medal, its weight resting in her palm like an era returned. The room fell silent. Elena did not pin it to her chest. She placed it in a glass frame Jake handed her, set it beside a photo of 3 Marines standing before a bullet-scarred wall in Fallujah. Beneath it, in Colonel Harrison's hand, "Heroes of Fallujah. LCPL Williams, PFC Chen, Gisket Morales." Elena touched the frame, speaking softly. 38 children got out of there. 37 made the list. 1 was born on the helicopter. Her mother named her Elena. No one spoke. Silence here wasn't emptiness, it was ritual. That afternoon, the 5D workshop was set. Thursday, 7 p.m. Sheriff Tom would bring a VA counselor, a JAG officer to explain legal frameworks for hate incidents, and a peer support group of local veterans of color. A hastily printed poster went up by the door. Speak to no. Act for safety. Toward evening, an old biker wandered in, jacket worn, helmet dangling. He placed a POW MIA patch on the counter. "Where's the right place to hang this?" Elena pointed to the gap between two photos, like a stitch across a new wall. "Here, between loss and return." The biker hesitated, then bowed his head. As dusk came, the reporter returned for wide shots, the zero-tolerance board, the bookshelf, the wall, patrons talking quietly. He avoided close-ups of Elena's tattoo. Before leaving, he said, "The piece will be titled A Bar Builds Peace. No mention of that gang." Elena smiled. "Good. Don't feed darkness with your spotlight." That night, the bar thinned. Jake stood beside Elena at the mirror behind the counter. I'm thinking about enlisting," he admitted. Elena looked into the glass. Reflected, there was a black woman who no longer hunched to shrink, nor puffed up to challenge. "Jake," she said slowly, "don't do it because of my story. Do it if there's a mission you're ready to pay for. Time, sleep, maybe scars. The military takes all you have and asks for more. If that's your road, I'll support you. If not, there are 1,000 ways to serve." Jake nodded, exhaling. "I get it. Service isn't only in uniform." "Right," Elena said. "Sometimes it's pouring coffee steady and holding the door for someone after the storm." Before turning off the lights, Elena looked once more at the chalkboard. Zero tolerance for hate. Beneath it, respect in word and deed, and the line, "Warriors don't need recognition, they serve." She touched the edge, a small gesture like a salute. Outside, the sea wind shifted. Inside, a new mission had been posted. Not to guard with rifles, but with silence, listening, and clear boundaries. Tomorrow, the Desert Vipers might try again, somewhere, with someone. But tonight, at Murphy's Roadhouse, peace had been built. Not because of a tattoo, but because a community decided to stand together. And Elena, once intent on hiding, had chosen to be seen. At the right time, in the right place, in the right way, semper fi, in everyday life. Thursday, 7 p.m. Murphy's Roadhouse had its chairs arranged in a half moon, leaving a clear ice lane down the middle for speakers to walk. Near the jukebox hung the chalkboard, "Zero tolerance for hate." Beneath it, respect in word and deed. The new bookshelf was stacked with titles on black women in the military and safe intervention handbooks. Elena Morales checked everything as if before a mission. Exits unobstructed. No blind spots in sight lines. Both entry and exit doors anchored by someone holding the corner. Sheriff Tom Bradley arrived on time, followed by two guests, Dr. Marcus Reed, a VA counselor, scholarly frame and warm baritone, and JAG Lieutenant Alyssa Grant, hair neatly pinned, slim file in hand. Colonel Mike Harrison was already there, leaning against the wall, surveying like an officer watching over a unit. Maria Santos set out a pot of mint tea. Jake Miller taped a poster beside the board. Bystander Intervention, 5D. Lance Corporal Sarah Webb claimed a front row seat, her Black Women Serve t-shirt catching dust sparkles in the light. The sheriff opened, calm and steady. "Tonight isn't a witch hunt. It's about learning how to stand together. We'll talk through the 5 Ds, distract, delegate, document, delay, direct, and we'll practice." He nodded to Alyssa. Alyssa stepped up, laying out 3 concepts like boundary stones. A hate incident doesn't always break the law, A hate crime is bias-driven conduct that does, and can carry enhanced penalties. The other night we saw assault, tearing a shirt, plus coded language. Your written accounts are invaluable. They're our shield. She smiled lightly. And the best shield is prevention. That's why we're here. Dr. Reed moved into the center, palms open like an invitation. Our bodies have alarm bells. Ever smelled gasoline and felt your heart race like a drum line? Ever heard a coded slur and felt your hands sweat? Normal, nothing shameful. Now, everyone, let's do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5 things you see, 4 things you touch, 3 sounds you hear, 2 smells, 1 taste. Bring your body back to now. The room joined in. Chairs shifting, tape crackling, mint tea in the air, salted peanuts on the tongue. Necks loosened. Elena stepped forward, tray balanced as always. I'll set the scenarios. Jake, Sarah, help me. She turned to the room. We'll try 2 voices, the service voice, smooth, saving face for all, and the command voice, sharp, clipped, used when safety is threatened. The room murmured at how seamlessly she switched tones like flipping a switch. Scenario 1. Is that your real hair? Jake played the rude customer. Sarah, the target. Elena passed by, distract. Sir, fresh apple pie just came out. Want a slice? Then direct. We don't touch people's hair here. Thanks for respecting that. After, to Sarah, delay. You okay? Want to move to a quieter table? The room clapped, soft, but in agreement. Scenario 2. Is this your card? A microaggression, doubting a black customer's credit card. Elena used delegate. Jake, check if the POS system is lagging at table 7. In reality, Jake moved closer to witness. Then direct. If the system verifies, no further comment is needed. Scenario 3. Belligerent drunk. Dr. Reed added document. A bystander filmed safely from distance. Hands it to the sheriff if needed for legal action. Alyssa interjected, chalking codes on the board. Phrases staff could use without alarming patrons. Double black coffee. Discreetly call 911. Apple pie for 8. Lock the back door. Pull people to the safe core. Calm seas equals situation contained. Civilian enough that anyone else will mishear, except those trained, Alyssa winked. An hour in, Eddie the mechanic hauled in a box of security cameras. Got 4 solid ones, 1 for back door, lot, bar, front, wires tucked clean. Colonel Harrison studied the floor plan, adjusting for blind angles. Elena added, move this shelf to the opposite wall for a clear lane. Rotate that table 30 degrees to see the rear door. Small tweaks turned the room into a space of shared visibility. At the close, the sheriff handed out an incident log form. Date, time, parties, short description, action taken. This is gold with the DA if things escalate. 9 people volunteered for a watch group, not to fight, but to be there. Arriving early, staying late, sitting near doors, observing. Elena reminded, no chasing, no confronting outside. Call the sheriff. We're not a night patrol, we're a community. Dr. Reed closed with a 4-7-8 breathing exercise. The room felt lighter, like a camp broken down after training. People clapped shoulders, swapped numbers. Sarah walked out clearer-eyed. I'll volunteer Saturday night, she said. Elena nodded. Saturday's busy. Good. As folks dispersed, night wind rattled the wooden sign. Elena dimmed the lights, checked the locks. At the back door, her shoe crushed something brittle. She stooped, wrapped it in a napkin. A matchbook stamped with a green snake logo, Desert Vipers. A faint whiff of gasoline, like a ghostly warning. Elena froze half a second, pupils narrowing as if catching a blind spot. She thumbed her phone, silent call to Sheriff Tom. "Picked up a trace," she said. "Set patrols around the lot for the next 2 nights, okay?" "Done," Tom replied. "I'll swing 2 extra rounds tonight." Elena sealed the matchbook in a zip bag, labeled time and date. She switched on a fan, dispersing the gas scent. In the mirror behind the bar, her reflection stood straight, shoulders level. She touched the dog tags at her collar, the metal cool as a vow. Semper Fi, always faithful. When the final light clicked off, she knew the next test might come tomorrow night or next week, but if it came, this room had learned how to stand together. Saturday, 11:58 p.m. Murphy's was about to close. The last customers drifted out, their laughter fading into the salty night air. Jake wrote the final line in the incident log. No incidents. Sarah Webb wiped down the table near the back door, her part of the volunteer watch shift. Elena balanced the register, eyes steadily sweeping corners, doors, mirrors, every surface that gave her one more angle to see. A trace of gasoline slipped through like a ghost. Faint. Anyone else might miss it. But Elena had once lived by her nose in combat zones. She straightened, met Sarah's eyes. "Calm seas," she whispered, "the code to keep things steady, no panic." Then she flicked a look at Jake. Jake nodded, slid a hand under the counter, pressed the silent 911 button. Double black coffee. Elena moved toward the back alley. She slid the inside bolt, cracked the outer door just enough to see. The motion light in the lot flickered on and off, catching 2 crouched figures by a metal trash bin. A third lingered farther out. Lookout. One held an open gas can. The other tapped a Zippo lid, the metallic click sharp in the dark. The smell of gasoline was undeniable now. Elena twisted off the kitchen's backup gas valve, muscle memory. She killed the exhaust fan to stop fumes from pulling in, shifted the ceiling fan flow. Back at the door, she opened it another inch, body shielded by the frame, left hand bracing, right hand gripping a narrow beam flashlight. "Stop, both of you. Drop the lighter, hands on your head." Her voice wasn't loud, but it snapped with command. The men flinched, the lighter clattered to the ground. "You like playing with fire, huh?" The lookout spat a slur. Elena didn't let it register. Her training blocked the poison before it seeped in. Her breath stayed even. "Police are on the way. Step back from the gas can. 3 steps, hands high." The lighter man faltered. The one with the can tilted it, ready to pour. "No," Elena cut in, firmer, climbing half a step up the ladder of command. "Tip it now, and you soak your own shoes. You'll reek for weeks." Practicality hit harder than threat. He stopped. She saw him imagine it. Shoes ruined, skin burned raw. 15 seconds stretched like a winter night. Then blue strobes flashed at the alley's mouth. Sheriff Tom and 2 deputies braked hard, moving fast, quiet. "Sheriff's office. Drop everything. Hands on your head, face the wall." His voice cracked like a brace locking. Elena withdrew, sealed the inner bolt, signaled Jake. "Apple pie for 8. Jake dashed to the side door, barred the kitchen exit, slid the steel latch. Outside, 1 suspect bolted for the lot, but 2 figures blocked the narrow way. Eddie and the sergeant-tattooed man. They didn't touch him. They stood solid, hands loose, voices unified. "Sheriff's here. Stop." The man froze, torn between fight and fear. A deputy swept in from the flank, taking him down clean. The lighter carrier was cuffed first, then the gas can man. Sheriff read rights like reciting scripture. "Name?" "Mason Red Klein," the first snarled. "Darrell Gator Price," the second. "And you?" the deputy asked the lookout. He turned, buzz cut, snake tattoo ugly across his scalp. Trey Dalton. Sheriff glanced at Elena. She'd come out the front, holding distance. "We found their matchbook here 2 nights ago," he said. Elena handed over the zip bag. The chain of evidence snapped together. Can, lighter, matchbook, footage from the new cameras, their red LEDs blinking like nods. Inside, a sound broke. Sarah, frozen at the counter, eyes wide, knuckles white. Elena moved to her, delay. "You okay?" Sarah swallowed. "Fine, just the gas smell brought me back to Kandahar." "Deep breath," Elena said, steady hand on her shoulder. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. "What do you see?" "The chalkboard. Coffee cup, clock, light, your hand." Her exhale came long, shoulders lowering. Outside, deputies searched the men. In one pocket, a scrap of paper. "Murphy's. Spook 'em." Sheriff's eyes hardened. Spook with gas is still a crime. His voice wasn't angry, just the weight of a hammer dropped exact. He looked to Elena. "Thanks for calling early and staying calm. No one hurt, no fire. That's good." Alyssa Grant arrived minutes later, hair damp with night mist. She examined the evidence, nodded. Intent plus accelerant plus threat equals serious. If the DA pushes, bias motive may enhance sentencing. Did anyone capture that slur in the alley? A patron raised a phone. "I documented from behind the curtain, didn't get close." "Perfect," Alyssa said. "Your clip protects everyone, not just today but next time too." The air inside tensed, then twisted again. A young man, flushed red with anger, burst out, "These punks need a beating to remember." Elena turned, direct. "No, we don't hit people. We hit behavior and ideology. Our part is protection, evidence, procedure. If you want to fight, fight like adults." Her words were a pan of water set on a cooling burner, steam easing down. Colonel Harrison nodded slowly, voice measured. "Discipline makes a unit." Tonight was strong because there was discipline. Eddie guided the young man aside, murmuring, "We stood, we blocked, we called. That's enough. The rest is law's job." The youth sagged, tension unspooling. Sheriff bagged the can, lighter, gloves. "Call the fire marshal for a morning sweep," he ordered. Then to Elena, "I'll request a wider trespass order for Murphy's. And I'll stop by the other bars, share tonight's lesson." Elena, "Please include the 5D part. Don't just teach them 911. Teach them to stand together." As patrol cars rolled off, softer sounds reclaimed the room. Glasswasher hum, rag wrung in water, breathing. Sarah sat by the bookshelf, leafing through a chapter on a black female sergeant in Desert Storm. Jake logged, date, time, gas smell, 3 suspects, document secured, no injuries. Maria wiped the counter slow, as if erasing the last shadow of fear. Helena stood at the door, watching the yellow-black tape flutter in the alley. She didn't feel triumphant, just relieved that the right thing had been done the right way. Inside, the chalkboard still bore her line. "Warriors don't need recognition, they serve." She touched its edge, chalk dust fine on her fingertips. "Ma'am," Jake asked quietly, "if they'd lit it faster tonight." Elena met his eyes, honest. "Then we still had a plan. Gas valves off. Fans shifted. Doors locked toward the kitchen. Sheriff en route, and everyone knew their place." A thin smile. "That's the difference between luck and preparation." Outside, the night wind carried the salt away. Inside, coffee warmth returned. As Elena dimmed the lights, leaving one strip over the memorial wall, she thought, Peace doesn't shatter from a stone tossed on water when there are already rings. Each person a circle of defense. Tonight the rings held, and she, a gunnery sergeant who had laid down her rifle, was still on guard with skill, discipline, and community. Semper Fi, even when the smell of gasoline lingers in the back alley. Monday morning, sea mist lay thin as tracing paper over the highway into the county seat. Elena Morales drove her beat-up pickup toward the courthouse, Jake Miller and Lance Corporal Sarah Webb in the back seat. Up front, Maria Santos held a bag stuffed with the incident log, crime scene photos, and copies of camera clips. Sheriff Tom Bradley had arranged to meet them on the courthouse steps. JAG Officer Alyssa Grant and VA Counselor Dr. Marcus Reed waited with their own stacks of papers. Colonel Mike Harrison came last, khaki jacket on, his old cap dangling from his wrist. "Bail hearings, just the first step," Alyssa said, calm as stone. "We'll request a no-contact order, a trespass order, 1,000 feet around Murphy's. Attempted arson and conspiracy are strong enough for high bail. The hate motive will be noted for the DA to use at trial." She scanned the group. Inside, no side arguments. Keep answers short, clear, respectful. At security, a guard waved the group through, then singled out Elena and Sarah. "Your bags," he said, stressing your. Sarah stiffened, knuckles tight on her strap. Elena smiled, direct but measured. "All bags, please. We're entering together." Jake and the colonel set theirs on the belt, too. The guard flushed, waved them all past. Sheriff Tom lifted an eyebrow at him, a quiet lesson without a word. The hallway outside the courtroom was crowded. 2 local reporters and a small TV crew lingered. A blonde MC thrust a mic at Jake. "A bar turned fortress of safety. Don't you think that's an overreaction to the safe space trend?" Jake froze, deer in headlights. Elena laid a light hand on his wrist, faced the camera. "Safety isn't a trend. It's a basic right. Murphy's isn't a fortress. It's a community living room. In that room, words and actions both deserve respect. That's all." The MC's face fell. No gasoline for her fire. But the camera caught Elena's eyes, steady, not hostile, not pleading. Inside, the 3 suspects from the back alley incident stood behind the rail. Mason, Red Klein, Daryl Gator Price, Trey Dalton. Their lawyer in a dark suit hit the familiar notes. "Your Honor, no fire, no blaze, no injuries. Just a misunderstanding between drinking men." The DA flipped papers, projecting photos. Gas can, Zippo, matchbook with the snake, and the document clip shot by a patron. "Conspiracy is complete. Intent, means, overt act. We request high bail and absolute no contact with victims or premises." The judge, silver-haired, looked over her glasses. "And Stephen Viper Jackson?" DA. "Warrant issued, Your Honor." The gavel cracked. Bail. $150,000 for Klein, $150,000 for Price, $100,000 for Dalton, 10% for release. No contact and trespass order covering Murphy's Roadhouse, 1,000-foot radius. No firearms. First violation, remand. She glanced at the community group. "Those filing, hold order, hold evidence, hold composure." When it ended, a reporter barked, "Do you have a message for the biker gang?" Elena stood straight. "For everyone. Everyone has the right to get home safe, including the defendants' families. We don't name people. We name behavior and end it." The answer slipped the trap of fighting words, leaving a silence that made listeners think. In the hallway, Alyssa handed Elena a media ground rules sheet. No hypotheticals, no security details. Repeat the goals: safety, respect, law. Dr. Reed pulled the group aside, led a short 4 to 7 to 8 breathing drill. Body before brain, he grinned. Breathe first, talk after. That afternoon, back at Murphy's, Elena posted a safety plan beside the chalkboard. Codes: double black coffee equals 911, apple pie for 8 equals lock the back, calm seas, Sackler's stable. 5. D. Distract, delegate, document, delay, direct. Diagram, exits, gas valves, fan switches. Sheriff's night number. Principle, no chase, no out-of-bounds confrontation, life safety first. Texts buzzed around. Viper's gone. Some said he'd skipped to the next county, others that he was raising bail for his crew. Colonel Harrison half joked, voice tight. In the service, a CO skipping court would be punished hardest. Elena smiled thin. Discipline is still the road back, if he wants a life worth living. That evening, a national TV crew rolled in, lights, boom mic, baited questions. Do you think working-class white men are being demonized in this story? Elena lifted her chin, direct. We don't lump anyone together. There are white men here, black men, Latino, Asian, Native, standing side by side against violence. If you respect, you're welcome. If you threaten, you're stopped. Skin color isn't the measure. Behavior is. The boom mic lowered. A few patrons nodded, like hearing a chord struck true. Night fell. On the wall, the Purple Heart gleamed. Beneath it, the Fallujah photo looked like a window to the past. Elena walked the bar, adjusting camera angles, slapping fresh recording in progress stickers on doors. Jake updated the incident log in neat blue pen, like a soldier's journal. Date, time, outcome. Sarah showed an older woman how to speed dial 911. Maria gathered names for weekend night volunteers. Before sliding the bolts, Elena stood before the chalkboard. 0. Tolerance for hate. Respect in word and deed. Warriors don't need recognition, they serve. 3 lines, like 3 locks securing the room. She didn't know where Viper was, lost in the night fog. She only knew that tomorrow, Tuesday, Veterans Night, they would hang more photos, read more names, and maybe connect with those far away. And perhaps peace would rise again. Another layer laid over a fresh crack. Tuesday night, Veterans Night. Murphy's Roadhouse glowed warm like a holiday living room. Maria Santos spread sand-colored tablecloths, setting a jar of wildflowers beneath the Purple Heart. Jake carried out a tray of apple pie for 8, a joke on the code that made the whole room chuckle. Sheriff Tom, crisp in white shirt and blue tie, chatted with Dr. Reed. Alyssa Grant sat with her laptop open, scanning DA emails. Colonel Harrison paced the wall, straightening rank captions beneath each photo. Elena hung a new picture. A black woman in utilities smiling beside a Humvee marked Sergeant Angela Price. Sarah placed a torn patch beside it. My sisters. Thank you, Elena said, palm pressed like a salute. Across the room, a carpenter delivered fresh wooden frame, grain polished. To make that Purple Heart shine, he grinned. At 7 sharp, Elena tapped a spoon on a glass. Shall we begin? The chatter faded. She looked around. The small America. White, black, brown, Asian. Straight, curled, coiled hair. Old uniforms, flannel shirts, dusty jeans. We have a wall. Each photo is a way home. But tonight there's a way home from very far away. Jake lowered the screen, flicked on the projector. The image appeared, a small room somewhere in the Middle East. Whitewashed walls, window leaking children's voices. On screen, a middle-aged woman in a headscarf, dark eyes, and a young woman, maybe 21, hair long, smile shy. Maria whispered to Elena, through a vet humanitarian network. They found the mother and daughter airlifted that night. The woman lifted a hesitant wave, speaking in broken English. "Hello. We remember school, fire, 3 Marines. 2 stayed, 1 carried, children, my baby, on helicopter." The daughter pressed her hand to her chest, voice clearer. "My name is Alina. Mother named me for Elena. She said woman saved us." Her voice cracked, half from bad connection, half from feeling. The room held its breath. Elena stepped closer, not too near, as if afraid to touch a fragile memory. "Hello to you both," she said slowly, each word placed soft. "We remember you, every night. Williams and Chen stayed behind." The girl folded her hands, whispering, "We know, we say their names." She recited them, accented but reverent. Maria passed tissues, eyes all around shimmered. Dr. Reed suggested a minute of silence. They rose, fan blades hummed. A clock ticked. A minute stretched like a bridge across desert between 2 halves of the world. When they sat, Colonel Harrison cleared his throat, telling briefly of phantom fury. Heat, dust, blasts, and a school of children curled in fear. He ended flat as iron. "Discipline and humanity, that's what kept us alive." At the bar, a stranger in a worn leather coat muttered, "Touching night." But leave politics out of a bar. The air sagged one note, the kind people had learned to catch. Elena didn't strike direct. She distracted gently. "More apple pie? Fresh from the oven." Then she delegated, nodding at Jake. Jake stepped in, calm. "Veterans Night, stories of service, not politics. Here we keep respect in word and deed." The man nodded, sheepish. Nearby patrons delayed, checking if he was okay, needed a new seat. The ripple broke, no one drenched. The screen still glowed. Alina pulled a worn sheet from her pocket. A blurred photocopy of 3 Marines before a bullet-riddled wall. She held it to the camera, smiling. "We keep this, always." Elena covered her mouth, eyes blazing wet. Maria asked gently in English, "Why keep it?" "To remember, to be brave," Elena answered. Sheriff Tom stepped forward, spoke to the screen. "We have a wall here too. If you allow, we'll hang this photo in full." The mother nodded, hand to her heart. Alyssa added, "We'll work with the group to transfer the original safely." Practical gears kept the tide from overflowing. Headlights swept the window. The whole room shifted, trained by past nights. Eddie looked to Elena. She winked. Calm seas, engine off, no stomping boots. Just a family walking in, holding a photo and folded flag. The man placed the flag on the counter. "My brother didn't come home, but his picture belongs here." Elena lifted it like a child, laying it beside the Purple Heart, waiting for the colonel to fold it right. In such gestures Sarah Webb stood. Her voice shook but held. "That night I almost let anger drive me, but I remembered the 5 Ds. I'm sorry if I ever laughed along at the wrong jokes before. I'll stand watch here every Saturday." Applause rose like rain on tin, quiet, steady. Elena turned back to the screen. "Alina, if one day you come here, Murphy's will have your table. Here no one asks, 'Where are you really from?' They just ask, 'What'll you have?'" Alina beamed, nodding fast. The video froze a moment. Internet lag across half the globe, then resumed. They waved goodbye, HDMI cable clicking soft. Jake raised the background music, a gentle guitar piece. At the close, Elena invited all to sign the Murphy's watch, a roster of community presents by hour. Empty boxes filled with names: Eddie, Sergeant Tattoo, Maria, Sarah, Jake, Colonel, Doctor. Read, even Sheriff Tom penciled patrol visit at 10 to 11 p.m. Alyssa announced by email the no-contact order was active. If any of them step within 1,000 feet, she said, call 911. No confrontation needed. Heads nodded, ritual solemn. As lights dimmed, Elena stood alone before the wall. She touched each, the Purple Heart, Williams, Chen, Elena, Alina. In the mirror behind the bar, the black woman staring back no longer hid behind white shirts, nor flaunted tattoos like trophies. She guarded with ordinary tools, schedules, plans, breathing drills, a smile. Peace didn't fall from the sky. It was layered by small acts of many. Tonight, another layer had been laid down. Outside, street lamps spilled gold across the lot. Inside, the memorial wall glowed like a hearth. Elena whispered, needing no ear, Semper Fi. Then she flicked off the lights, leaving one glow on the chalkboard. Warriors don't need recognition. They serve. Somewhere far away, perhaps Alina too turned out her lamp. Two ends of the world, one heartbeat, and Murphy's Roadhouse, because of it, was no longer the same. Ocean wind drove rain slant across Murphy's Roadhouse lot, drumming the tin roof like a parade snare. The clock read 10:56 p.m. The bar was nearly empty, only the late shift of Murphy's watch. Elena Morales, Jake Miller, Lance Corporal Sarah Webb, Eddie, and the man with the sergeant tattoo on his forearm. Sheriff Tom Bradley had promised 2 patrol passes. Since the court's no-contact and 1,000-foot trespass order, everyone knew Vince Viper Jackson would either slip around the law or walk straight into it. And rain was a blanket perfect for someone who wanted to burn without leaving a trace. Elena checked the last safeguards. Gas valves shut, fans reversed, back door bolted, ABC extinguishers staged by both exits. Eddie's donated cameras blinked red, wired through a backup UPS in case of outage. On the chalkboard, 0 tolerance for hate. Beneath it, the 5 Ds and codes: double black coffee, 911, apple pie for 8, lock rear, calm seas, all clear. The gas smell didn't hit at once. It crept under the door like a wet cat, hidden in rain and damp wood. Sarah sniffed. You smell that? Elena nodded. Calm seas, she whispered. Keep the room steady. Then an orange flicker streaked the rain. Flare? No, just a Zippo sparked under the eaves, lighting half a hooded face. Viper stood under the awning, rain carving rivulets down his shaved scalp. Beside his shoulder, a skinny kid, maybe 17. Elena didn't step out. She planted herself in the front doorway, framed, one hand resting on the extinguisher like on a hilt. Mr. Jackson, she called, loud enough to cut rain, you're violating a court order. Viper smirked, rain glossing his scalp. Just passing through, thought I'd talk. Running this county now, huh? Figures. He dragged out figures, the old code aimed at her skin and who was allowed to set rules. Elena lifted her chin, refused the hook. Leave the 1,000-foot radius now. Her left hand flicked the porch light, flooding the entry in white. The kid flinched, squinting. Relax, sweetheart, Viper shrugged. I'm alone, just talking. Don't rile the neighborhood, the right kind of bars like peace. His peace meant shut up and pay. Elena didn't answer. She signaled Jake. He bent as if to pick up a rag, thumb pressing the hidden buzzer. Double black coffee. 911 new. Viper spread his arms, playing harmless for the cameras. Then he jerked his head at the kid. Throw it. The boy froze half a beat, then pulled from his raincoat a rag soaked in gas, wrapped in plastic. Zippo snapped. Rain battered the flame, trembling like a dying firefly. A gust bent it toward the rag. Stop! Elena's voice cracked like a bolt. Drop it. Step right, 2 paces, hands up. She yanked the extinguisher pin, squeezed. A white jet burst short and sharp, slicing between flame and rag, snuffing it flat. The rag sagged, dead on wet ground. Viper hadn't expected the quick cut. He spun, snarled at the kid, useless. The boy shrank, staring at foam on his shoes. Elena saw his hands tremble like wet rope. "Hey, son," she said, direct but gentle. The service voice, not command. "Set it down, step into the light. No one touches you. You have your own choice." The boy flicked eyes at Viper, kid catching the stink of real trouble. Viper roared, "Don't move." But the porch light was too bright, cameras too clear, and the fear in his chest too heavy. He dropped the bag, stepped 2 steps into the light. "Apple pie for 8, Elena murmured. Sarah slid the rear bolt, ushered the last 2 patrons into the core. Eddie and the sergeant-tattooed man shifted, one inside, one by the glass, hands open, shoulders low, eyes wide, present but not pushing. Sirens knifed rain at the road's end. Viper staggered half a step back, then forward like testing a line. "You think you've won," he sneered, spitting coated bile about keeping this place clean. "Don't bring the wrong kind here. Safe spaces making men soft. Old poison from America's dustbin." Elena let it wash like rain off a roof. "You're on camera," she said, clear and slow. "You're breaking court order. Leave now, or wait for cuffs." Viper sneered. Patrol lights burst blue-red. Cruisers blocked both ends of the lot. Tom Bradley stepped out, raincoat hooded, megaphone booming. Stephen Jackson, face down, hands behind head. Viper froze, eyes dazzled. Then he edged back, then turned to run. "Don't," Elena ordered the room. "Direct. No one chase." She knew adrenaline begged to rush the door. Discipline held them. Eddie planted feet. The sergeant-tattooed man pointed deputies out, heels rooted. A deputy swung wide, cut the angle, took Viper down clean. He cursed, thrashed, stilled when cuffs bit. Sheriff read rights over the rain. Another deputy draped his coat on the boy. "Name?" "Noah Briggs," the kid stammered, voice thick with regret. "He told me just to stand watch. I didn't mean—" Elena stepped to the threshold, not beyond. "Noah, you chose the light. Law handles the rest. But tonight you saved yourself." The boy bowed, rain mixing with tears, nodding hard. Alyssa Grant arrived minutes later, near midnight. She reviewed the evidence: soaked rag, Zippo, bag, camera pulls. Violation of no contact, violation of trespass, attempted arson. With the Jackson's priors, DA will pursue full. Noah, if you cooperate, will push for diversion. Hope sparked in his eyes. Inside, Sarah trembled. Elena DeLay, "You okay?" "I heard the Zippo, and it felt like sand whipping." 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Elena guided. Wood chair, William's photo, wall clock, cinnamon in the pie, salt on your lips. Sarah's shoulders eased, breath steady. Sheriff Tom came in, raincoat dripping. He scanned, no injuries, fire doused before birth, evidence sealed. He nodded to Elena, his praise short as always. "Good?" The room chuckled. They knew his language. Viper was hauled off, swallowed by the storm. Noah sat by the door, wrapped in a deputy's coat, waiting for his guardian. Eddie brought hot cocoa. The boy avoided the memorial wall, ashamed, maybe afraid of the mirror it held for him. Elena logged the night. Date, time, Viper breach, ordered rag thrown, snuffed with ABC, 911 by code, no injuries, one minor diverted, cooperative. Her script ran straight, neat as her folded napkins. Rain softened outside. On the board, the old line still held, "Warriors don't need recognition. They serve." Tonight, Service was standing at the threshold, keeping the whole room from fire. Before bolting shut, Elena looked at Noah. "Tomorrow? Come in the afternoon. I've got dishwashing work, real pay. Condition: on time, learn 5D, no Viper's code in here, deal?" Noah nodded, firmer now. Another ring spread across the water. Rain cleared, wind shifted. Night closed like a door clicking into place. Elena exhaled, light. Discipline had held them once again. 2 weeks later, the county courthouse was packed for the preliminary hearing. Stephen Viper Jackson shuffled in wearing an orange jumpsuit, the snake tattoo on his neck, once defiant, now faded under the harsh neon lights. The DA laid it out clean: violation of no contact and trespass orders, attempted arson, prior convictions, camera footage, Murphy's logs, physical evidence, plus transcripts of his coded slurs filed as aggravating factors. Alyssa Grant sat at the prosecution's table, steady as a freshly honed blade. The defense tried to spin. "My client was just talking. There was no fire. What's called racism here is just interpretation." The DA played the recording, Jackson's own voice snarling, "Keep this place clean," the right kind, and his order to throw the gas rag. Rain hissed in the background, a rhythm for guilt that needed no melody. The judge's gavel fell, her face impassive. Trial, the jury will hear all of it. Until then, remand, no bail. For a heartbeat, Viper stood frozen, then dropped his head. Noah Briggs was called as a witness for the state. He wore a borrowed shirt, hands damp with sweat. Elena stayed away, deliberately, so Noah could testify without her shadow. From the back row, Dr. Reed gave him a subtle nod each time he spoke truth. Noah stammered but told it straight. Viper's texts, the promise it was just to scare, the porch light, the foam burst, the woman's voice telling him to step into the light. When he left the stand, his mother sobbed in the hallway. Alyssa leaned down, explaining diversion, community service, counseling, supervision, an off-ramp from a criminal record if he followed through. Word spread quickly. Jackson held without bail. Klein, Price, Dalton cut deals with the DA, probation, suspended sentences, lifetime ban from the district. Elena didn't pop champagne. She wiped tables, poured coffee, and hung 2 new photos on the memorial wall, one of the first 5D workshop, everyone holding placards with the 5 steps, and one Elena had mailed, the original, sharp and framed. Beneath each, Jake wrote in neat script like a prayer. "Discipline saves lives. Kindness keeps them." Murphy's watch shifted. Less tension, more constancy. Fewer gawkers came to see the Black Marine. More came to learn how to stand together. Workshops became regular, once a month on safe intervention, once on mental health support. Sheriff Tom brought the fire marshal to teach exit plans. Alyssa ran Q&As on rights and duties when witnessing hate. A new plastic card went on the door. Murphy's Code of Care, a civilian creed Elena drafted. Respect in word and deed. Use 5D according to safety. No chasing, no out-of-bounds confrontations. Record incidents. Don't condemn people. Protect the vulnerable first. Noah started dish shifts 3 nights a week. He was punctual, quiet, careful not to chip glassware. On breaks, he read from the shelf. The Warriors Return. Black Women in the U.S. Military. One evening, he peeled the snake sticker off his helmet and tossed it. Sarah noticed, said nothing, only handed him a bystander 5D decal. He nodded, stuck it on, a perfect fit. The national news came back. this time polite. They wanted the Murphy's formula. Elena shook her head. There is no formula, just duty, teaching each other how to stand, breathe, call when it's time, lock the right doors, open the right hearts. The producer pitched, Elena Morales, a black Marine changing a small town. Elena set conditions. If you film, start with the memorial wall and end with the code of care. Don't open with the ripped shirt. They agreed. The Sunday broadcast began with the Purple Heart, then the 5D class, then Noah stacking glasses, closing on the chalkboard's line. Warriors don't need recognition, they serve. At a Veterans of Color night, an elderly black man came with a cane, hair white as surf. He looked at Elena, at the eagle, globe, and anchor faint beneath her shirt, and said softly, Back then they told me I didn't look Navy. Asked where I was really from. I stayed quiet. Tonight I say I'm from here and I'm staying. Elena clasped his hand, firm as an anchor. Sometimes the rain returned. One night a passerby joked crudely, This bar's so safe it's gone soft. Eddie distracted. Tried the new IPA yet? Jake direct. We keep talk civil here. Sarah delayed with the target. That was enough. No fireworks. Small harm, handled by steady hands. On sentencing day, Elena stayed away. She sat in back, logging inventory, pen scratching steady lines. Alyssa's text came. Jackson, 6 to 10 years, court chose 8, mandatory rehab, permanent ban, civil fines after. Elena paused a second. Not joy, just release. One chapter closed. Williams and Chen still weren't coming home, but maybe fewer would fall to fire. That evening, Elena called. Across the world, sky clear as glass. Hi, she smiled, holding her phone up to show Murphy's memorial wall. We tell people about you all. We say names. Elena touched her chest. We say names too. She recited, slow and solemn, like ritual, Williams, Chen, Harrison, Santos, Bradley, Reed, Grant, Jake, Sarah, Eddie, Noah. Elena clapped, switching languages, then back. Family. Sunset gilded the bar windows. The memorial wall glowed like a hearth, warmed by memory and discipline. The code of care card caught the light each time the door opened. Noah carried trays with steady hands. Sarah counted her breathing like drill steps. Jake laughed louder. Maria swapped flowers weekly. Sheriff Tom dropped in for his black coffee, nodding his quiet good. Alyssa still sat in the corner, sharpening language like a blade. Dr. Reed led another grounding circle. Night fell. Elena hung a small new photo, Murphy's seen from the road, its chalkboard spilling warm light onto wet pavement. Beneath it, she chalked, Peace doesn't fall from the sky, it is built. She set down the chalk, drew her rag across the counter, habit as exact as forming a line of march. When she slid the final bolt, ocean wind tugged her cap, carrying highway hum and salt. Her fingers brushed her dog tags, metal cool against her skin, an old vow never dulled, semper fidelis, always faithful, to the fallen, to the living community, to the mission, even if the mission now was pouring coffee steady, teaching 5D, dousing sparks before flames. In the glass door, the chalkboard reflected like a watchpost. The line warriors don't need recognition. They serve stood there, unsaid but present. It stayed, like a sentry keeping the night, guarding a peace with discipline. The kind built layer by ordinary people who knew how to stand together. And Murphy's Roadhouse, after the storm, was no longer just a roadside bar. It was a civilian outpost, where a black Marine woman still stood guard, no rifle in hand, but with coffee, procedures, and trust. Semper Fi. The story ends, but its echo lingers. A small bar turned into a fortress of trust and respect, where one black woman, once ordinary, showed an entire town that true strength lies in discipline, dignity, and courage. What about you? In that situation, how would you respond to threats and to prejudice? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them. And if this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more stories full of tension and meaning.